Hello everybody and good morning. This is Clive from Live Pulse, and this is part 2 of my long speech about Heywood. Last time we got up to the part of what the future of Heywood's going to be like. And so now, as we step into that future, we must recognise that the work ahead is not simply about repairing what's been lost. It is about redefining what these towns can be. It's about moving beyond the limitations that have held them back for so long. And it's about embracing a vision that is bold, ambitious, and grounded in the realities of the people who live here. Because the people of Heywood and Middleton are not asking for a return to the past. They are asking for a future that reflects their strength, their resilience, and their pride. That future begins with a commitment to economic renewal. Economic. Because a strong local economy is the foundation of a thriving community. Pardon me. It creates jobs. That's the first thing. Secondly, it supports families. Also, it can attract investment. And it builds confidence. And the residents have been clear that the economic decline they have witnessed was not inevitable. They have watched businesses struggle, not because, the people lack talent or ambition, but because the support structures around them were not strong enough. They've watched opportunities slip away, not because the towns lack potential, but because leadership failed to fight for them. You see, critics have long argued that the council should have developed a long-term economic and strategic plan. Excuse me. One that attracted new industries, supported small businesses, and positioned these towns as places of opportunity. They argue that other towns with similar challenges managed to reinvent themselves through strategic planning and targeted investment. They argue that Heywood and Middleton could have done the same if only the ambition had been there. But with Rochdale Council, the Labour Council, there is no ambition whatsoever. But if reform gets in, that ambition will be there. It's here in the determination of the people. It is here in the voices that refuse to be ignored. And it is here in the belief that these towns can rise again. And that belief must be matched by leadership. As I said, reform leadership. That understands the importance of economic renewal. Leadership that is willing to invest in business growth, support entrepreneurs, and to attract new industries, to create spaces where innovation can thrive. Because when you get innovation, you get jobs. Leadership that recognises that a strong local economy is not a luxury, it's a goddamn necessity. But economic renewal is only the part of the future. Another one is the transformation of the public spaces. Because, public spaces are not just physical areas. They are expressions of community identity. They are places of where people gather, where families spend time, where culture and connection flourish. When public spaces are neglected, communities feel disconnected. When they are revitalised, communities feel alive. Now, residents have spoken about the need for parks that are well maintained. We have got one or two. We've got Queen's Park, and that's not bad actually for a park. It's a decent walk, and it's always neat and tidy. As I said, the need for parks that are well maintained, town centres that feel welcoming. That's what we want. We want public areas that reflect the pride of the community. They have spoken about a frustration of seeing spaces fall into disrepair now, and of watching opportunities for improvement pass by. A feeling that their towns were not being cared for. Now, that's been going on for years. And critics argue that the council should have prioritised the revitalisation of public spaces, recognising their importance to community well-being. They argue that investment in public space is not cosmetic, it is foundational. I'll go along with that so far as to say that, yeah, it is. If we have public spaces where people can get together, fine. But on a night time, these public spaces can be turned into fighting grounds for people. And we know what that means. Drug users, alcoholics, immigrants. So we have to be very careful here. It's all right saying that, but we have to clean the towns out first. You see, they say the public spaces can be transformed and they can become like a pride of the community. That's all being well. But I don't know. On one hand, there could be symbols of renewal, right? But on the other hand, as I said, at a night time, these public spaces can be turned into fighting areas, if you like. So if you've got that and that, what you're going to need in the middle is good policing. So, an essential too is the restoration of public services, because as we all know, public services are the backbone of a strong community. And when I say public services, I'm talking about the police, I'm talking about the NHS, I'm talking about social services, I'm talking about everything that the council runs. They support families, they protect the vulnerable, and they provide stability. And they do create opportunities now and again. When public services weaken, communities do feel the strain, and we're seeing that now. Residents have spoken about the challenges they face about long waits for GP appointments, limited youth services, stretched social care, parks and libraries in need of investment. I mean, how many libraries have been shut down? And when I was a kid, years ago, libraries were the place. These are not minor inconveniences. They're fundamental issues that affect daily life. You see, we argue that the council should have done more to protect these services. They argue that its financial decisions should have prioritised the needs of the community. But they waste money hand over fist, and we all know that. See, how can I put it? The financial decisions should have prioritised the needs of the community, but the weakening of the public services is not just a policy failure. It's a failure of responsibility. And residents feel the consequences every day. But on the whole, public services can be restored. if the money is put into the right areas. They can be strengthened. They can be modernised. And they can once again become the backbone of the community. But again, that requires decent leadership. And leadership that understands their importance. Leadership that is willing to invest in them. And leadership that recognises that strong public service are not optional. They are essential. And the big one, what is also essential is the restoration of trust. Because trust is the foundation of any relationship between leadership and community. Without trust, progress is impossible. Without trust, plans lack credibility. And without trust, decisions lack legitimacy. Now, residents have spoken about the erosion of trust, not because of one decision, but because of many. You see, not because of one moment, but because of years of feeling unheard. We argue that rebuilding trust must be a priority between us and the council. Rebuilding trust requires transparency. Now that's the big word, transparency. It requires honesty. Excuse me. It requires accountability. It requires a leadership that is willing to admit when things have gone wrong and put the hand up and say, yep, it's our fault. And committed to doing better. And it requires communication that is clear, consistent, and respectful at the same time. And it also requires engagement that is genuine, not performative. And it also requires a willingness to listen, truly listen, to the voices of the community, because those people know. They've lived in that community for years. They know what they want and they know how they want it run. Because most voices are powerful. They're the voices of the people who have lived the realities of decline. They're the voices of people who have endured the consequences of inaction. And they're the voices of the people who have kept these towns alive through their resilience. And they're the voices of people who know what needs to change. They are the voices of people who are ready for a future that reflects their strength. And that future is within reach. It's not a distant dream. It's not a pie dream. It's not an abstract idea. It is a tangible possibility. And it's waiting to be built. It is waiting for leadership that is willing to fight for it. And it is waiting for decisions that reflect the needs of the community. It's waiting for investment that delivers viable results. And it's waiting for a commitment to progress that is unwavering. So, the people of Heywood and Middleton are ready for this. They have shown their readiness through their resilience, through their pride and through their determination. They have shown that they are willing to work for a better future. And they have shown that they are willing to fight for their towns. And they have shown that they believe in the potential of their communities. Now, leadership must show the same belief. And that belief must translate into action. Because belief without action is hope without direction. And these towns deserve more than hope. They deserve progress. They deserve momentum. They deserve a future shaped by decisions that reflect their needs, their values, and their potential. A future built not on vague promises, but on concrete commitment. A future defined by not what was lost, but what can be gained. To build that future, leadership must recognise the importance of opportunity. Now, opportunity is the lifeblood of any thriving community. It is what keeps young people rooted. It is what attracts families. And it's what encourages businesses to invest. It's what gives people a reason to believe in tomorrow. And residents have been clear that opportunity has been lacking. Not because the people lack talent or ambition, but because the structures around them have not supported their aspirations. Young people in these towns have dreams as big as anyone's. They want careers. They want stability. They want a chance to build a goddamn life. But too often, they feel they must leave their own hometown to find those opportunities elsewhere. And they feel that their towns do not offer the pathways they need. And they feel that their potential is limited, not by their ability, but by the environment. You see, we argue that this is one of the greatest failures of leadership. The failure to create opportunities that keep young people connected to their communities. But opportunity can't be created. Opportunity can be created eventually. It can be nurtured. It can be built through investment in education, in skills, in apprenticeships, in partnerships with local businesses. You see, it can be built through the development of new industries, through the support of innovation, through the creation of spaces where young people can learn, grow, and thrive. And it can be built through leadership that understands that the future of these towns depends on the success of the next generation. And that next generation is ready. They are ambitious, they're creative, and they are determined. They want to contribute. They want to build. They want to stay. But they need leadership that believes in them, leadership that invests in them, and bloody leadership that recognises that the strength of a community is measured not only by its present, but by its future. The future also depends on the well-being of families. Families are the foundation of any community. They are the ones who keep towns alive. They are the ones who support local businesses, who engage with schools, who participate in community life. But families need support. They need services at work. They need stability. They need leadership that understands their challenges and responds to them with compassion and clarity. Now, residents have spoken about the strain on families, the difficulty of assessing healthcare, the lack of youth services, the challenges of navigating stretched social care, the frustration of dealing with systems that feel unresponsive. These are not abstract issues. They are daily realities. They affect the well-being of children, the stability of households, and the strength of communities. Critics argue that leadership should have done more to support families, to protect services, to ensure that the needs of the community were prioritised. But families can be supported, services can be restored, and systems can be improved. But again, it requires leadership that understands the importance of investing in people. Leadership that recognises that strong families create strong communities. Leadership that is willing to make decisions that reflect the needs of the people, not the convenience of the system. And the system itself must goddamn change. Because residents have spoken about the frustration of dealing with flaming bureaucracy that feels disconnected from their lives. They've spoken about decisions that seem to be made without consultation, without transparency and without accountability. This is what I'm saying about Rochdale Council. Everything's done behind closed doors. They've spoken about feeling unheard, unseen and undervalued. We argue that this disconnect is one of the greatest barriers to progress. But that barrier can be broken. It can be dismantled through genuine engagement, through open communication, through decision making that is transparent and accountable. It can be dismantled through leadership that values the voices of the community, that seeks their input, that respects their lived experience. And it can be dismantled through a commitment to collaboration, not control. Because collaboration is essential. No single leader, no single council, no single organisation can transform a town alone. Transformation requires partnership. It requires cooperation between local government, businesses, community groups, schools, healthcare providers and residents. It requires a shared vision, a shared commitment, a shared belief in the future. It requires leadership that understands that progress is not achieved through isolation, but through unity. And unity is something these towns understand. They have shown unity in times of hardship. They have shown unity in times of uncertainty. And they have shown unity in times of challenge. They have supported one another. They've lifted one another. They've kept their communities strong, even when leadership did not. That unity is a strength that must be harnessed. It is a strength that must be recognised, and it is a strength that must be celebrated. Because unity is not a sign of weakness. Unity is a sign of resilience. It's a sign of pride. And it's a sign of determination. It's a sign that these towns are ready for a future that reflects their values. And that a future that honours their history. And a future that embraces their potential. And that future, as I said, is not a distant dream. It is within reach. With the right council, it is within reach. It's waiting to be built. It's waiting for the leadership that is willing to fight for it. And that day is in May the 6th or 7th, when the elections are. We get out there, we put an X on who we want to vote for. Myself, I'm a Reform voter, through and through. So my X will be going for all Reform councillors. And if we can get all the councillors that we can in there, we might have a chance of fighting the Labour majority. So please, people, get out there on voting day and do your thing. Make us proud of Heywood. Make us proud of Middleton. Let's get rid of all the detritus, if you like. You see, the future's waiting for leadership that is willing to fight for it. And only Reform will fight. They will fight for the people. They will listen to the people. It's waiting for the decision that reflects the needs of the community. And it's waiting for investment that delivers visible results. It's waiting for a commitment to progress that is unwavering. Now, if the Reform councillors can get in en masse, that means they can see where the money has been going that the Labour councillors got rid of. So instead of putting money into vanity projects, which is what Rochdale Council does, they'll be able to steer the money into Heywood, Middleton, into the towns themselves. Get proper planning involved, decent planning I mean. Get the people involved, what they want. And let's get Heywood up and running properly. So, we're on about a belief. Now, to me, a belief is more symbolic. It's more than symbolic, actually. It's more than a symbol. It's, how can I put this? It's a driving force behind every decision, every investment, every plan that shapes the future of these towns has to come from belief. Believe that we can do it. Belief with the action is transformation, and transformation is what people of Heywood and Middleton have been waiting for years, decades even. Transformation begins with recognising the value of the community. Community is not an abstract concept. It's not a slogan. It is not a line in a strategy document. Community is the lived experiences of people who support one another, who care for one another, who stand together in times of hardship. It is the neighbour who checks in on the elderly resident next door. It's a volunteer who gives up their evenings to run a youth club. It's a small business who sponsors a local football team. And it's the parent who organises a fundraiser for the school. It is the countless acts of kindness that happen quietly, without recognition, every single day. These acts are the glue that holds these towns together. They are the reason decline has not become despair. They are the reason frustration has not turned into hopelessness. And they are the reason the spirit of these towns remain unbroken. Because critics argue that leadership should have recognised the strength, should have supported it, should have built upon it. But the people carried on regardless. They carried on because they believe in their towns, and they carried on because they believe in one another. That belief must now be matched by leadership that understands the importance of community. Leadership that invests in community spaces, in local organisations, in initiatives that bring people together. Leadership that recognises that strong communities are not built from the top down. They are built from the ground up. Leadership that understands that the role of the council is not to dictate, but to support. Not to control, but to empower. And not to speak over the people, but to listen to them and understand what the people are saying. Listening is essential. Residents have been speaking for years. They've spoken about the decline of the high streets, challenges on transport, weakening of public services, the frustration of stalled regeneration, the erosion of trust. And they've spoken with clarity, with honesty, with courage. But too often, their voices were not heard. Too often, decisions were made without consultation, and we all know about that. And too often, priorities were set without understanding the realities of daily life. Now, let's argue that this, what can I call it? This disconnect between leadership and the community, to me, is one of the greatest barriers in progress. But like all barriers, they can be dismantled. It can be dismantled through genuine engagement, through open dialogue. What else is there? Through decision making would be one of them. That is transparent and accountable. It can be dismantled through leadership that values the voices of the people, that seeks their input, that respects their lived experience. But it can be dismantled through a commitment to collaboration, not control. You see, because collaboration is not a weakness, it's a strength. It's a recognition of that no single leader, no single council, no single organisation has all the answers. It is the understanding that progress is achieved through partnership. It is the belief that the best ideas come from the people who live the realities of these towns every day, which is us, the people. I mean, it's a commitment to working together. That's what this is. Not as separate groups, but as one community with a shared purpose. I mean, that shared purpose is clear. To build a future that reflects the pride, the resilience and the determination of the people of Heywood. A future where high streets thrive, where transport connects properly, where regeneration delivers, where services support, where opportunities grow and where leadership listens. A future where the potential of these towns is not ignored, but embraced. A future where the people feel valued, heard and supported. And I'm not talking about a fantasy here. It's not an impossible dream. It's been done before in other places. This is realistic, achievable. It's a realistic, achievable vision. That's what I'm looking at. If leadership is willing to fight for it, if leadership is willing to prioritise the needs of the community, if leadership is willing to invest in the foundations of progress, and if leadership is willing to rebuild trust, leadership is willing to match the determination of the people. That's what we want, and that's what we'll get if reform gets in. Because the people have already shown what they are capable of. They have shown resilience in the face of decline. They have shown pride in the face of neglect. They have shown determination in the face of disappointment. And they have shown unity in the face of challenge. They have shown that they are ready for a future that reflects their strength. Now, leadership must rise to meet them. It must rise with a commitment to transparency. It must rise with a commitment to accountability, and it must rise with a commitment to progress. Those three words, transparency, accountability and progress, you never hear them in Rochdale Council. I dare say they couldn't even spell the words. It must rise with a commitment to the people. It must rise with the belief in the potential of these towns, and it must rise with the courage to make difficult, bloody decisions. It must rise with the determination to deliver results. Because the future of Heywood and Middleton depends on more than maintaining the status quo. It depends on transformation, as I said before. It depends on ambition, and it depends on bloody leadership that is willing to fight for these towns. It depends on decisions that reflect the needs of the community. And it depends on investment that delivers results. And it also depends on a commitment to progress that is unwavering. The people are ready. They have been ready for a long time. They have shown their readiness through their resilience, through their pride, and through their goddamn determination. They have shown that they are willing to work for a better future, and they have shown that they are willing to fight for their towns, and they have shown that they believe in the potential of their communities. Now, leadership must show the same belief. And that belief must be sustained. Not for a moment, not for a season, but for the long road ahead, because it will be a long road. Because rebuilding these towns is not a quick fix, never is. It is not a single project, and it is not a headline or a photo opportunity. It is a sustained effort, a long-term commitment, a promise that must be honoured day after day, year after year. It requires leadership that understands the scale of the task and is willing to see it through. Leadership that does not waver when challenges arise. Leadership that does not retreat when progress is slow. And leadership that does not lose focus when the work becomes difficult. Because the work will be difficult, believe you me. There'll be obstacles. There'll be setbacks. And there'll be moments when progress feels slow, when frustration rises. One of the main problems will be planning. Believe you me. They must not weaken our resolve. They must not shake our belief in the future of these towns. And because the people of Heywood and Middleton have faced far greater challenges, and they have endured. And why have they endured? Because they're strong and resilient. And they've endured because they believe in their towns. See, that belief is the foundation of everything that comes next. It is the reason transformation is possible. It's a reason the future can be brighter than the present. But belief alone is not enough. It must be matched by leadership that understands its responsibility, and the leadership that recognises that the people have carried these towns for long enough. You see, we need a leadership that's ready to carry its share of the weight. And that weight is not small. It's the responsibility to deliver regeneration that has been promised for years and never happened. It includes a responsibility to restore public services that have been stretched thin. The responsibility to revitalise high streets that have been neglected, and includes a responsibility to improve transport that has fallen behind. It includes a responsibility to create opportunities for young people who feel they must leave to succeed. Why should the young ones leave to get jobs elsewhere? Really, they should be here. And it includes a responsibility to rebuild trust that has been eroded over time. Now, I could go on. You see, these responsibilities are not optional. They are essential. They are the foundation of a strong, healthy, thriving community. They are the commitments that the leadership must take. When I say leadership, I mean council, you know that. And must keep. Because the people of these towns have kept their commitments. They have kept their commitments to their families, to their neighbours, to their communities. And they have kept their commitment to their towns, even when the councils did not keep its commitment to them. Now, the councils must return that loyalty. It must return it through action, through investment, through transparency, and through accountability. Through decisions that reflect the needs of the community, not the needs of them. Through a willingness to listen, a willingness to learn, and a willingness to change. So through a willingness to fight for the future of these towns with the same determination that the people have shown in generations. Because people of Heywood and Middleton are not passive recipients of change. They are active participants. They are the ones who will build the future. They are the ones who will shape the identity of these towns. And they are the ones who will carry the legacy forward. Leadership must recognise this. It must respect it. It must embrace it. It must work with the people, not around them. It must see the community not as an audience, but as a partner. You see, partnership is essential in every aspect. It's a recognition that progress is not achieved through isolation, but through collaboration. Now, I know this. I've worked in these type of businesses before. And you see, it's the understanding that the best ideas come from people who live the realities of these towns every day, which is right. You see, the belief that transformation is possible when leadership and community work together towards a shared goal. Not just the council. It has to be the council and the community. They must work together or it won't happen. You see, they need a shared goal. That's what this is all about. So the council and the community have to work towards a shared goal. How can I put? It's a commitment of unity. That's what this is. Not as a slogan, but as a flaming strategy. And unity is something that these towns understand. They have shown unity in times of hardship, through the wars, through COVID, through everything. We've always been together. They've shown unity in times of challenge. They've supported one another. They've lifted one another, and they've kept their communities strong, even when the councils did not. That unity is a strength that must be harnessed. It is a strength that must be recognised, and it's a strength that must be celebrated. Because, as I said before, unity is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of resilience. It's a sign of pride. It's a sign of determination. And it's a sign that these towns are ready for a future that reflects their values. A future that honours their history. And a future that embraces their potential. And that future is not a distant dream. It's not even a pipe dream. It is within reach. It's waiting to be built. It's waiting for the councils that are willing to fight for it. It's waiting for decisions that reflect the needs of the community. And it's waiting for a commitment to progress that is unwavering. Now, the people of Heywood and Middleton are ready. They have been ready for a long time. They've shown their readiness through their resilience, through their pride, through their determination. And they have shown that they are willing to work for a better future. And they have shown that they are willing to fight for their towns. And this will come in May. And they have shown that they believe in the potential of their communities. And now leadership must show the same belief. We come on to, you see, a belief must be demonstrated, not only in words, but in the daily decision that shape the lives of the people who call these towns home. Because belief is not a speech. Belief is not a slogan. And belief is not a line in a flaming manifesto. Belief is a commitment to act, to deliver, to stand with the community through every challenge and every opportunity. It is a commitment that must be renewed every day, in every decision, in every conversation, and in every plan. For too long, residents have felt that their concerns were acknowledged but not addressed. They felt that their voices were heard but not acted upon. And they have felt that their needs were recognised but not prioritised. And they felt that leadership listened but didn't respond. Critics argue that this gap between listening and acting is one of the greatest failures of recent years, because listening without action is not leadership. It is observation. And observation does not build a future. Action builds a future. Action restores trust. And action delivers progress. Action shows the people that their voices matter. Action demonstrates that leadership is not merely present, but engaged. And that action must begin with a renewed commitment to transparency. Because transparency is the foundation of trust. It is a recognition that the people deserve to know how decisions are made and why they are made and how they will affect their lives. For too long, all these decisions have been made behind closed doors in the councils. The people don't know what's going on. And it is this understanding that leadership must be accountable to the community it serves. Now, residents have spoken about the frustration of feeling left in the dark, about decisions behind closed doors, about plans announced without consultation, and about changes implemented without explanation. They've spoken about the need for clarity, for openness, for honesty. We argue that leadership must embrace transparency, not as a burden, but as a responsibility. Because transparency is not a threat, it's a bridge. It's a bridge between leadership and the community. A bridge that must be rebuilt. Now, rebuilding that bridge, I would say, requires more than information. It requires engagement, genuine engagement. Engagement that is not performative, not superficial, not symbolic. Engagement that is rooted in respect for the lived experience of the people. Engagement that recognises that the community is not an audience, but a partner. Engagement that values the insights, the ideas and the perspectives of residents. Engagement that understands that the people know their towns better than anybody else. Because people know. They know the challenges. They know the opportunities. And they know the strengths and the weaknesses and what needs to change. And they also know what needs to be protected and what must be built, what must be restored. They know this because they live it every day. And councils must recognise that knowledge as a resource, not an inconvenience. That recognition must shape the decision that comes next. Decisions about public services, about economic development, about community support, and even decisions about the future. These decisions must be informed by the voices of the people. They must reflect the needs of the community, and they must prioritise the well-being of the residents. They must be made with clarity, with purpose, and with courage. Courage is essential, because the path ahead will not be easy. It is not for the faint-hearted. There will be difficult choices. There will be competing priorities. And there'll be moments when the right decision is not the easiest one. There'll be pressure to maintain the status quo, to avoid risk, to choose comfort over progress. Excuse me. But leadership must resist that pressure. Councils must choose courage. Councils must choose ambition. And councils must choose the future over the familiar. Because the familiar is what led to decline. The familiar is what allowed stagnation to take root. And the familiar is what kept these towns from realising their potential. The familiar is what residents have been pushing for against for years. They've been calling for change. They've been calling for progress. They've been calling for council that is willing to break from the patterns of the past. And they've been calling for a future that reflects their strength. The future is within reach. It's not a distant dream. It's not an abstract idea. It's a tangible possibility. It's waiting to be built. It's waiting for the councils that is willing to fight for it. It's waiting for decisions that reflect the needs of the community. And it's waiting for investment that delivers visible results. It's waiting for a commitment to progress that is unwavering. And that commitment must be long-term. Because transformation does not happen overnight. It does not happen in a single budget cycle. It does not happen in a single term. It happens through sustained effort, through consistent action, through a willingness to steer the course even when the path is difficult. It happens through councils that understand that the future of these towns is not a project. It is a promise. A promise to the young people who want to build their lives here. A promise to the families who want stability and opportunity. A promise to the elderly residents who want dignity and respect. A promise to the businesses that want to grow and thrive. And a promise to the volunteers who give their time and their hearts to their communities. And a promise to every person who has kept believing in these towns even when belief was difficult. That promise must be honoured. Thank you very much. Part 3 tomorrow.